Goodness me, it's time already. Good morning, starshine. The earth says hello. You twinkle above us. We kill everyone below. Oh, what a way to start the day, huh? Sorry about that, but today is Anzac Day. And if you don't know what that is, Anzac Day is a national day of remembrance in Australia and New Zealand that broadly commemorates all Australians and New Zealanders who served and died in all wars, conflicts, and peacekeeping operations, and the contribution and suffering of all those who have served. I am reading from Wikipedia on that one. We just don't learn anything, huh? We just don't learn anything. I have been to Gallipoli in Turkey, and it's a very sad place, but it filled me with anger because it didn't have to happen. None of this has to happen. None of these wars have to happen. People literally have the power to stop these things. And then they say, well, there's nothing we can do to stop it. No, the one thing you can't stop is the missile once it's been launched. You can't stop everything else. But bloodlust is that herd mentality thing. And competition. I don't understand the competition. I really don't. I don't understand it. I certainly don't understand it amongst women. So join me this afternoon at 12 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time for the Sandhya Show. I'm going to talk about misogyny in the sisterhood, because we talk about misogyny at what it is, but it isn't a gender-specific term. I mean, I guess it is, because it's misogyny, gyno, you know that? That is the gender-specific thing about it, but in terms of who can feel it, misogynist is the label, and that label is not gender-specific, because I very sadly know the misogyny that resides within women. I have had to face my own. But anyway, we will continue with that. It's not, we have to do something. Why I am addressing this is because we have to do something about that. Because we are being weaponized. We, being women, are being weaponized. And people of color, multicultural also. I'm going to start with, let's see what's happening with The Guardian, because ABC, look, I don't know what's going on with ABC, but their news headlines: the bra you exercise in could be putting you at greater risk of an ACL tear. Although, having said that, this is important for women to know, because also you do need to know the correlation between neck and all of this. We have absolutely forgotten how everything is connected. For instance, the genital region, the pelvic region, is connected to the jaw. I'll tell you more about that later. We are here to read the news headlines from, well, I'm here. I don't know why you're here. I'm here to read the news headlines from all over the world. And I will share this particular one: wearing the wrong bra could put you at a greater risk of a knee injury. I know that sounds far-fetched, but it's not, considering the knee and neck are very closely connected. And if you are having knee problems, you are going to have neck problems. Because if you're having neck problems, your eye line is below the horizon, and that's where everything, is a problem. And the reason why we're having all of these problems is because all we're doing is looking down like this. Let's look up. Let's look up. Oops, and also it helps the neck not get all of these wrinkles. Now, where was I? I can't read from ABC. It's just, if it's all about Anzac Day, which I understand is the importance today. Australians gather in dawn services and marches to mark Anzac Day 2024, but still people will not learn anything. And all the government people, will get up, they're up early, and then they're all going to listen to all the veterans and the returned soldiers, or they're all going to, and not actually learn from it. What is the point of commemorating war? We can say, well, it's not about commemorating war, it's about commemorating the fallen soldier. Yes. Why was that soldier sent in the first place? Why are young people sent to get killed in war or come back with PTSD, while the people who send them to war sit and get fatter and live till old age. Why? Why? Henry Kissinger was one of the prime examples of that. He died recently at the age of 100, and yet the people he sent off to war, what happened to them? I'm going to read some news headlines all the way at the bottom. With its superpower status under threat, Beijing has baby fever. Here's why many women aren't keen, because they're not factories anymore. China itself does not want to be the world's factory. Well, the women do not want to be China's factory. Women, rise up, come on. Stop hating each other. US secretly ships long-range ballistic missiles to Ukraine. And Israel. For the first time, Ukraine has begun using long-range ballistic missiles provided secretly by the United States. What is the state of America doing? Five decades after fighting in Vietnam, John Bryant has returned to help find the bodies he buried. Look, I'm going to move on to see what The Guardian is saying about the world today. Defense suicide. ADF should formally honor personnel who lose lives away from battlefield, Royal Commission Chief says. Nick Caldas believes there is merit in recognizing the service of those who have not necessarily fought in a war, but have suffered grievously in some other way. That would be the world's population, I feel. I think that, yes, governments should compensate the world for the trauma it has created upon the world. This trauma keeps us all numb and dulled and continuing to perpetuate the systems and the constructs. We support it, we uphold it. That's how we perpetuate. We are... And yes, we may rally against it and fight against it, but we still drive the cars, we still have to go to work. We can't, we know, go on worldwide strike. They ask for these strikes, these protest strikes, every time. We know we can't do that because we all end up suffering. Ask an artist who has decided to make a leap of faith and to pursue their skill set that they were born with. You know, in my naive way of thinking, I think, well, artists, well, they were people born with skills. The first people who should be remunerated for those skills because they actually have something they were born with. Likewise, beauty. I feel beauty, and I will talk more about that in this afternoon's The Sun Here show, about what beauty is meant for. It's supposed to be a draw card for something bigger, not something that everyone feels that they are entitled to simply because they want the attention that beauty gets people. It's very dangerous when the mind doesn't match the physicality. And the mind wants the ego worship of that. I'm going to go back to the headlines, and lately, just yesterday and today, I have not felt like reading the headlines. It's all quite... It's an algorithm of fear. But I'm going to continue reading the headlines from The Guardian. Anti-democratic Labour minister warns Facebook against removal of news content. Tech giants' shares tumble as weak revenue guidance overshadows AI boom. I have to read this story because I don't see any evidence of Zuck, who is currently doing the rounds on social media, you know, basking in this fake popularity because somebody put a beard on him. I think Mike Rundle is the name of the person who put a beard on Zuck, and all of a sudden everyone's like, "Ah, oh, Zuck, you're the man, you're hot." And I'm like, oh my God. So Zuck's popularity has gone up because he actually looks like, you know, I'm looking at this photograph of him. He's got muscles. Cool, cool. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt now. In a month, apparently, he got to be. Anyway, Meta's drive to integrate artificial intelligence into its products yielded strong financial results for the second quarter in a row. But its share price slumped more than 12% as the company reported earnings Wednesday, as a weak sales forecast and higher spending guidance rattled investors. Did any of that make sense to you? So people are investing in artificial intelligence, but the human side of things has taken a good morning, good morning. Revenue at the world's largest social media business increased 27% to 34.46 billion. I don't know if that's Australian or US, I'm going to assume US, during the first quarter, in contrast to analyst expectations of 36.16 billion. So, just a 30 million. One of those things. Difference. Earnings per share more than doubled to 4.71, so $4.71 per share, surpassing expectations. What a load of rubbish. What a load of absolute trying to baffle people. I mean, look, I do follow the stock market. The stock market is where I get an understanding of what's happening in the world. The stock market around the world is a zeitgeist of what is actually happening on the ground. Good morning, my darling. So it's just all doom and gloom. By the way, I forgot to tell you that today is Anzac Day, and that's where we commemorate fallen soldiers and everyone who's been in war. Of course, we don't learn from that. Mm-hmm. Government gets up and, everyone lays wreaths at the tombs and wherever we have commemorations of the fallen soldiers, but no one learns, and they go back to their desks and press the buttons to send the missiles. Yeah. It's very confusing. And look, Zuck's looking all buff. I don't know if you've seen on social media, Zuck's doing the rounds. His popularity shot up because someone put a beard on him, and all of a sudden Zuck looks cool. Even his wife is like, who dat? Yeah. And it's like, and then he's all, because he's a black belt jiu-jitsu, I think it took him about less than a month to become a black belt.
Sure. Well, I mean, if you're good, you're good, right?
If you're good, you're good, right? I mean, he's a billionaire. He must be, because surely that must be a sign of an exemplary superhuman. Because in our fiction, billionaires are Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark. In our reality, it's Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. Who else can I name? There's quite a few billionaires, and in India especially, the billionaires have gone, nyeh. So, everything's going to get pushed. The more you have billionaires, the more that segregation, that gap just gets wider and wider, the more the lower tiers, and that is now becoming everybody. Now we're all being crushed. Just be aware that that's where diamonds come from. Although diamonds don't actually have that much of an incredible value. It is only, well, look, who was it? It was Baron de Rothschild, and I mentioned him very briefly in Finalysis last night when we were talking about our 5 favorite quotes. Not favorite, but 5 of our favorite quotes, and I had mentioned one from the movie Inside Man. And Jodie Foster's character had explained that Baron de Rothschild, who is the first Jewish person in the House of Lords, or given a title, a peerage, and he had said that essentially when blood is spilled in the streets, that's when you buy property, and even if the blood is your own. So that's actually what happens as people get richer, as people get poorer. That is how it happens, and that is what I'm saying whole lot of rubbish for, because Meta's stocks in artificial intelligence are just, but the human side, the sales side, the actual wanting to be on Meta side, although none of us have choice, because that is how we share information. Very soon we are going to regress, and I don't know if that's regression or progress, when we decide we've had enough of all of these platforms they don't actually want us, they want our content. They want our content and they harvest it. Everything we've done, even this, content, everything we have done online for however long has been harvested to be used against us. What else is happening on the Guardian's headline page? Oh, this is an interesting thing, and this is written by Paul Daly. I think it might be an opinion, and it is what I'm saying. On Anzac Day, you'll hear stories of courage and mateship. It's a way to rationalize war. That's what they're doing. I have been to Gallipoli, and I have said that, and I was just shaking with anger, seeing all of these people murdered by each other. People who didn't want to kill each other, but were convinced that they had to. For what? for Queen and country. And that's what, even for people who weren't of that country, that a queen was, oh, go kill everybody. But that was actually Churchill. Winston Churchill. We love to quote him because he was so witty. He was a misogynist. He was a misandrist. He was ugly. Ugly and faulty. And loves to talk about his black dog of depression. Well, why not? He looked in the mirror, didn't he? He had to live with himself and his evil doings. Trump, ex-president to receive US 1.2 billion bonus for Trump media stock performance. And this is while he is in court right now being, oh my God. He's going to receive 1.2 billion bonus for Trump media stock performance. This is insane. Gaza, what's happening there? Israel thought to be preparing to send troops into Rafah. Please don't think that just because I'm not reading out the headlines about what is happening in Palestine doesn't mean I'm not following it. It's just that I do feel that there is something else going on here. The world's attention is being corralled and redirected and be firmly on that, which it should be. About time we all really rallied around something that has been happening for almost a century. I have known about this for 35 years, but back then when I found out, I thought it was a religious war. But it is a property war. It is extreme trauma of the ego war. And the ex-European refugees and their lack of identity. This is not about the people of Jewish faith. The people of Jewish faith are against this. And again, PSA, if you are going to call someone who is pro-Palestine and pro-humanity and anti-genocide, if you're going to call them anti-Semite, please understand that you are also an anti-Semite, because the people of Arabic descent are also Semites. And I have shared that many, many times, that Semite is just a term coined by European scholars to classify a group of languages, and they were Arabic and Afro and Hebrew. Semite is a term coined from one of the names, one of Noah's sons, Shem. And also enough of that, you know. No one here is an anti-Semite. I know Jewish people, good people. I so much of their language and their ways, you know, we use in the English language, chutzpah, and, you know, quite a few, oy vey, and it's all quite cute, and buts, etc. You know, we've all been Americanized in our entertainment, yeah? And so we see it a lot. One of our favorite movies, Eddie Murphy's Coming to America. Eddie Murphy does whiteface in it, in classic scenes in the barbershop, and some of the funniest jokes comes from, you know, I can't remember, Saul, and he's like, putzes, you know, we're all you're all putzes. This has got nothing to do with that, and really hating someone for their belief shows something really, really wrong with you. If you hate someone for the fact that they believe in a divinity different to yours, simply because we are all born to different areas and regions and racial groupings, you have got issues. You've got serious issues. Oh, it's Anzac Cookie Day too. I just read the headlines in case you're wondering, how'd you go from that to that? Because I'm reading headlines, because there's an Anzac cookie recipe here on the front page, but I had scrolled that. Look, I'm going to go international because I have been focusing a lot on what is happening on this side of the world, and frankly, you know, see, look, as Paul Daly in The Guardian had said, and listen to this, and this is now, I'm on Sydney Morning Herald, and it says independent always, except it doesn't actually talk about what's happening in the world. So it's Eurostream independent always. Sydney Morning Herald, I love you, but you are so Eurocentric in your reporting. It is a newspaper I have loved for a very long time, and it's so, so disappointing. At dawn on the Kokoda track, PM pays tribute to our diggers. That's great, but you're not going to learn anything, are you, PM? And I will say this, the PM, regardless of how he personally feels, he signed himself over to the collective feeling. Not the feeling, sorry. over to the collective, because once they get into that institution called government, unfortunately, they seem to forget that they are here for the people, to represent the people and to be the voice of the people. All of a sudden, once you get behind the secret walls of parliament and government and the institutions that govern us, you see and you are privy to all the secrets. And then you realize, whoa, it goes way, way back. And it can't just be abolished with a simple sign and flourish of a pen. But you know what? It could be. It could literally all be stopped right now if the world's leaders got together and said, hey, you know, we've all got finite life cycles. Let's not kill each other anymore. Let's put a stop to all of this. You know what? Let's send the women. let's get our women leaders, or let's put women in leadership roles. And because women are great at also multitasking, and then we can all just really I'm not saying that women don't have issues and that we won't go into this going that we hate each other because I can't stand the way she dresses. Yeah, it's going to be that simple. Am I being a misogynist, or am I being right? That women can be that petty and they can get that deep that if we really, really wanted to, we could unite. We don't have to like each other. We just have to trust each other and have each other's front and back. Where is this sisterhood? Where is it? We have the power. We have the power. Whew. Well, this is all about Sydney so far, Sydney Morning Herald, what has been pushed off the front page of the newspapers in Australia, and especially in Sydney, in New South Wales, is the terrible murders of the people at Westfield Bondi Junction. The massacre that happened. Again, everyone's saying, this is so rare, it doesn't happen in Sydney. It's been happening for a long time. A long time. Ask the people, the First Nations people of this land, but also in the construct that is Australia, which I love. I chose to come here. I chose to move here, chose to live here, knowing that it is problematic in so many ways, but hoping that its progressive attitude and everyone, the knowledge we now have, would unite us in wanting to have a better Australia, being the Australia that was built on sacred ancient land. Whew. I'm going to move now. Let's go international. Let's go see what's happening in Fiji, huh? Maybe not. I'm going to go and see what's happening in Pacific News on Radio New Zealand, because that is a little bit more truthful, unfortunately. And look, I get it. It's not like the people of Fiji are all buying the hype that the tourism organizations are selling to the world. Maybe they do. Maybe they look at all of these ads that say Fiji is the ultimate in happiness, the place where happiness finds you. Also suicide, you know. So no wonder people, the suicide rate in Fiji is 7-year-old child is the youngest to have murdered themselves. That's what it is. Suicide. Sui is a prefix meaning one of its kind. Sui generis, suicide, killing oneself is murdering oneself. What is it that we don't want to do? We don't want to live in a world that has no hope for us. That children now are feeling that. Children who are the ultimate hope. Brought into this world just to fill the emptiness of their parents. Let's see what's happening. Pacific News on RNZ, Radio New Zealand. Solomon Islands. Manessa Sogovare said he narrowly won his seat and still exercises power over security as he vies with opposition parties to form government after an election declared no clear winner. And they're all waiting. It's all eggshells, Pacific Islands. Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of issues in the Pacific Islands, not created by the Pacific Islanders themselves, but created by the former masters who have then withdrawn, but they look back and see how it all is unfolding while they wait to see who is the victor and who gets the spoils after they've spoiled everything for the people of these countries. Why? I don't know. The headlines seem to be really... Let's go and see what's happening at Indian Express. Because the problem in India right now is that the Prime Minister is stirring up a hornet's nest of civil war. India is supposed to be a secular country. It is in their constitution, but under the current Prime Minister's watch, the one that all Hindus seem to love. Now, I'm not going to generalize like that. I don't think so. But because he has done good things for us, for majority of the country, the world seems to forget that India is not just a Hindu country. It is the majority. And yes, Hindi is the language that is most spoken, but there are about 25, 26 other languages. Just look at their film industries. But I think Modi is hell-bent on making India a Hindu country. And that is dangerous. Look, understand this. There is no, although there is no excuse for the hatred between racial groupings based on their religious beliefs, there is reason why Hindus feel that way because of the Mughal rule on India for 500 years or so, where Hindus were taxed, where Hindus were punished for their belief systems simply because Hinduism is a polytheistic religion and Islam is a monotheist. And both can exist, can they not? Well, if all the variations of humanity exist, being one species, why can our belief systems not coexist? So many countries. And I will tell you this about Fiji. One of the most beautiful things about Fiji is how we celebrate everybody else's religions, each other's religion. The holidays, I guess. Everyone loves Diwali. Everyone loves Eid. And everyone gets into the spirit of it then. And celebrating and understanding and respecting each other's religion. What is so wrong with that? I am not religious. And for a long time, I was anti-religion. I'm not pro-religion, but what I am is understanding of why religion exists. It is a guidance system. It is just a way for people to guide themselves in a world that is confusing everybody and no one actually knows their own GPS. So, God positioning system just to help oneself figure out what they're supposed to do. And also it stops a lot of people apparently from being evil. And that's a little bit scary because, if you need God to be good, yeah, there's a few other things you've got to address here. A lot of people, particularly people, the more religious they are, the more they're hiding something. Not everybody's hiding evil. A lot of people are hiding trauma. And trauma, well, that's avoidance too, using religion, because it's so much easier to have the words of mantras and chants and psalms and verses than it is your own words, because sometimes your own words threaten to derail you. Your own words in your brain. Opinion. This is from the Indian Express, the journalism of courage. And these headlines are from yesterday. 4 ways the Israel-Hamas-Iran conflict has led to a more volatile Middle East. Look, I don't really think you can completely blame the Middle East for the problems in the Middle East. I think you can blame all the people who think that they want a stake in the Middle East. Why? Oil, my friends! Oil, oil, oil! Nothing but a good time. What else is happening around the world? Oh gosh, this article from April 4th, 2019 that I was reading, and it's from the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Fancy name. The fate of secularism in India. The political dominance of the BJP's brand of Hindu nationalism since the 2014 election has called into question the future viability of the country's secularist tradition and commitment to diversity. Fast forward to 2024, and what do we have? A call for a Hindu nationalist country. I'm going to continue reading a little bit of this. This is from 2019, and it's an opinion piece. At home and abroad, one of post-independence India's defining characteristics is that the nation has managed to sustain democratic governance in the face of striking ethnic, linguistic, and religious diversity. India is absolutely diverse, if you want to talk about what diversity is. And also understanding that the South Indians don't ever really get a look into any of this. The North Indians, who are predominantly the invaders, and I'm predominantly North Indian with a bit of South Indian, which I love. But I'm Indo-Fijian. My ancestors are from there. I'm not from India. And I'm an Indo-Fijian Australian on stolen land. In the early years after independence, the country's first Prime Minister, Nehru, and the ruling Indian National Congress, or Congress Party, advocated for an Indian brand of secularism designed to hold the country's disparate communities together under one roof. Indeed, Nehru often pronounced that India's composite culture was one of its greatest strengths. The Hindu nationalists, who later came to populate the Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP, and its various ideological affiliates, have consistently harbored a starkly different view. They envision India as a majoritarian nation-state, not a multicultural one. The tensions inherent in these competing visions of Indian nationhood have come to the fore in recent years, especially since the BJP's landmark electoral victory in 2014. It's really quite sad. But I will continue reading some headlines from around the world to see what's going on. As I said, Fiji Village, which I had started reading, they're talking about swearing in ministers for education in a closed ceremony. And this is a minister who was sacked for unminister-like behavior and now is being reinstated. And look, gossip plays a huge part in the way the news is. Gossip is taken for fact in countries like Fiji. So this minister, who was he was given 3 months to step down, and then Randrondro was dismissed earlier this year from his ministerial role as the Minister for Education by the Prime Minister for insubordination and disobedience to his directive. Randrondro later presented a traditional apology to Rambuka, the current Prime Minister, and while the Prime Minister accepted his apology, he said he still disagreed with the request for his reinstatement as the Minister for Education. But because he's the newly elected Sudelpa leader, my beloved country, what is going on? Well, it's not my country. I don't say that in a possessive way. I say that as an embrace. This is the country of my birth. We talked about something in Rucks and Rolls episode, last night, about some of our favorite moments in rugby throughout the time, and two of Dwayne's favorite moments are Fiji-centric, and mine are, Wallabies and Australian teams, but with heavy Fijian presence in them. And I don't know what's happening there, and it is very easy for me to say things, but I'm observing and being objective about that. Opinions are subjective. I don't listen to them much, not even my own sometimes, except when I say that my opinion, I'm offering my opinion, and opinions, as I have said, are subjective. Observations are objective, and I am looking at this from an offshore perspective and going, oof. See, the problem is when tradition doesn't let go of its hold on society. Societies cannot progress when we constantly adhere to something that is ancient and then expect us to be going, to be looking forward except we're all tied down by tradition, which I believe tradition is very important. Tradition is important. It unites us. It gives us cultural depth. It gives us meaning, tradition, culture. I love being a multicultural person with tradition behind me. But tradition needs to move with the times. Tradition cannot be mired in the ancient, because it is a ball and chain around the necks of people and progress. I'm going to move on very quickly to, let's see what's happening. Oh gosh, what is happening around the world? Nikkei. Let's see what's happening in news headlines on Reuters. The US quietly shipped long-range missiles, ballistic missiles, to Ukraine, which is also on Australian headlines, but right below everything else, U.S. Supreme Court split over Idaho's strict abortion ban in medical emergencies. A war on women. It's a war on our wombs. Now we don't have, in the States, in the state of America, there is no autonomy for womb. They're creating artificial wombs. They're even making it possible for same-sex couples, particularly males, to have biological children from... It's all happening. Science, which I am very behind. Pro-science, yes. But I'm also seeing how science is being manipulated into making women and wombs obsolete. And you know why? Because wombs are the ones where males come from, right? They seem to think that just because they have the brawn, they have the power. May I please, this is a PSA. The egg sends out frequencies. The bloody sperm does not know where to go. It's just like, wee, we're in here, what now, party? Dumbasses, the sperm. US TikTok bill sets up fight over free speech protections. Oh gosh, all right. You know, I read this out as to why it's happening. Now, yes, so ByteDance is Chinese owned and the state of America is so scared of China. And China is now waking the dragon. I am not completely behind everything they're doing. But why are we all like, Fiji, there's a huge anti-Chinese sentiment because I don't know why. And of course, I have to read out something very interesting. Where is this news piece? Oh my gosh. We're finding out something interesting here, and I feel I have not saved this, and if I can find it, I will read it out to you. But a very interesting news piece I came across where they're talking about Chinese spies in Fiji, and they're investigating drugs. And apparently, it's being brought in by a Chinese syndicate. I don't know where I read that, and please don't quote me right now until I quote someone else. Oh, here we go. One day ago, from the Sydney Morning Herald. I did know that Sydney Morning Herald has something for us to read. Well, listen to this. This is from April 24th, written by Nick McKenzie. Criminals infiltrate the elite task force formed to stop drugs landing in Australia. Listen to this. An elite Fijian police task force working with Australia and New Zealand to fight surging drug trafficking. Did I read this news out to you?
No.
About this elite Fijian task force? Yes.
You did.
To fight surging drug trafficking and organized crime in the Pacific region is suspected to have by a powerful criminal syndicate. Australian security officials concerns that members of the Fijian Police Commissioner's illicit drug task force have been working for the Zhao syndicate are detailed in police files seen by this masthead, Sydney Morning Herald, and briefings provided have been secretly compromised by officials in Suva. The revelations highlight the challenge Canberra faces responding to major security threats in the South Pacific. Solomon Islands, that is a huge threat for Australia because Chinese, everyone's fighting over the Solomon Islands. Who has the power for it? Why? Well, minerals and resources. That's why they're fighting over West Papua. That's why they want to keep... I'm going to continue reading. Spanning corruption and organized crime amid an intensifying geopolitical contest with Beijing for influence. 3 Australian government officials speaking anonymously to discuss confidential information confirmed the Albanese government was poised to announce a major increase in security aid across the South Pacific, but it was concerned it would be complicated if there were questions over corruption. What? Pio Tikonduandua, the Home Affairs Minister in Sitiveni Rambuka's Fijian government that was elected in 2022, conceded some Fijian police officers appeared to be aiding regional drug traffickers targeting Australia. I think it's pointing that way, and I'm trying to do something about it right now. I'd be lying if I'm not concerned about our Fiji police force, Tikonduandua said in a recent interview with this masthead Sydney Morning Herald. Rambuka separately warned of rogue elements in Fiji's police force. The Prime Minister told the Sydney Morning Herald that they just have to be very aware of them and make sure that the non-rogue ones, the genuine ones, are more awake than those that might want to get up to mischief. Rambuka, who is writing your quote, sir? You're more intelligent than that. For those of you that don't know, the current Prime Minister was the original coup leader. Of course, now it's all come out. It was at the behest of the previous leaders who couldn't stand the tilt of power. Everything is about power. Everything is about power. I'm going to finish reading 2 more paragraphs. The security briefings seen by the Sydney Morning Herald show high-ranking Australian and Fijian police believe that by about early 2021, key members of the ZAO syndicate had cultivated members of an elite counter-narcotics task force created by Fiji's police commissioner, Brigadier General Sitiveni Ngiliho. The ZAO syndicate comprises a network of criminals and facilitators spanning the South Pacific and is allegedly led by a powerful Fijian businessman, Zhao Fugang, who is considered a Chinese Communist Party operative. What's going on? 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 And with that, friends, I am going to now move into Studio K to discuss what's going on in the world. Look, I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer questions. I'm here to share information and some insight and observations and my opinions, which are subjective. Let's move into Studio K, as I've said. Oops, that is not the way to segue. I didn't mean for that clickbait to happen there. Hello, hello, good morning, good morning. I started off singing this morning, what is it? Good morning, starshine, the earth says hello. You twinkle above us, we kill people below.
Wow, that's heavy.
And the sun itself, gosh, you know, the sun has the power to kill us all, and I'm like, come on, when are you going to do it, mate?
Sun doesn't care.
Sun doesn't care. The sun does what the sun does. The original God. You know, the original God. The sun is the original God. And from there came, well, a bit of a downhill trajectory, really, when we could have all still been worshipping God, the sun. But of course, the sun being the one that created melanin and made it very apparent that the more melanin you have, the more superior you are as a member of the human species. But of course, so that's why we had to, you know, take away its power. So what can we talk about for the remainder of the Daily Egg this morning, now that I have read out some really contentious things and not really read too many headlines, because I'm baffled about what is making news in this world. There doesn't seem to be any good news. What good news do we have? What good news do we have today? It's a lovely day in Sydney. What other good news do we have?
Good news?
Is there good news? You know, the glimmers of hope. Is there? Yes, I feel so. Love exists. Love exists. We woke up another day.
News, though.
No. That doesn't. But we all, you know, today is a public holiday, by the way, and shops will not be open for a while because, and at 11:11, at 11 o'clock we have silence, which I cry for every fallen soldier. I cry for every person in war. I cry for every person affected. And that is all of us. Every single one of us on this planet is affected by the warmongering of old Euro white males and their little dicks. What's going on? I have said twice today, and the third time now, people literally have the power to stop wars.
Yeah.
Literally just step back and go, what are we doing?
But there's no profit in that, you mad?
And that's what war is all about. But also, aren't these people human? Do they not want the rest of us to be in this world? Of course they do, because it makes slaves out of all of us to keep those profits happening, right? So this is why they don't want women to have ownership of their own bodies, of their wombs.
I found a website called Good News Network.
Share some with me, please.
Hello Voyager. Celebrated spacecraft is once again transmitting after NASA repair from 15 billion miles away.
Lucky whatever. Lucky Voyager being so far away from this planet. Wow, and transmitting all that we have. You know, Contact by Carl Sagan. The book and the movie directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. Pinpointed something, shared something really scary. Because the first television broadcast was the 1930s Olympic Games held in Berlin or Munich. And that was the first broadcast, German technology. Yeah. And that is the first visual broadcast sent out into space. And that's why Carl Sagan used that as being what the extraterrestrial intelligence, what those, whoever they are, out there. And you cannot deny. You cannot. Even if you can believe that there are people sitting in the clouds looking down and waiting to smite us for our every move, regardless of what we do. Even if you're a good person and don't believe in religion and God, you're still going to be smited because apparently you have to believe in God. And the God that each religious group says you have to believe in. Otherwise you'll be smited and punished. Guilt is a strong way to manipulate and control people. So Carl Sagan used that, and it was Adolf Hitler's opening address at the Olympics. And people on Earth, of course, look at that like, horror! How could that be? But how could it be? And what is, what again, as I'm saying, people get manipulated because how? How did everyone in Germany get manipulated into believing that they needed to kill people of Jewish faith? For what reason? Just because a small little man with an extra testicle, apparently, or one testicle, whatever he had, was from Austria, from a village in Austria that was very, very anti-Jewish. The mayor of the village that Adolf grew up in was apparently heinously awful. Why? Simply because what? Really? Did they really think that Jesus wanted them to go out and kill innocent people? Do people really believe that this is what their gods are asking of them? When all religions have something beautiful to offer. All religions have something divine to offer the divine, and the divine being human beings. I don't know. I feel for Gen Z. What are they, and what they call Generation Alpha, which scares me already because all I'm hearing stories from Generation Alpha is that the young boys, the boys who are not even teens yet, well, if they're not committing suicide whilst they're in state care at the age of 10, First Nations, child, as I have read out in news throughout the last few episodes of the Daily Egg, they're not killing themselves. They're wanting to take out the rage. Children have rage. They're born with rage. And why wouldn't they be? If they are conceived in rage, conceived in terrible trauma, no wonder these children are... I'm going to say something really, really, really controversial, contentious here, but people are giving birth to children who are not given the opportunity to understand full humanity. Minds are coming out fragmented. I can't even say exactly what I want to say. Like, I don't particularly want to be hated by everybody. I seem to be. And that's okay. Hate me at your own peril. It is the lack of truth and transparency in this world that has got us to this time, to this very moment we are all in, all traumatized. Beyond belief, it is crazy how badly everybody is traumatized. It is... And then the cost of living on top of the trauma, which is traumatizing us further by continuing to keep us stressed and angry and raging at the system and wondering, like, how is everyone able to, how are we all functioning? How are we paying bills? How are we doing anything? I mean, forget just artists who have to take, we take the leap of faith because we're born with a set of skills that supposedly make us able to then function in the world because, hey, thank you very much. We were born with the skills and now we're going to earn money for it and give, art to the world. But no, that doesn't happen, does it? Except in Ireland. In Ireland, they have this bill or this, I don't know, whatever it is. I don't know the words, but they give artists a stipend, a weekly thing, government benefits for artists because of how difficult it is for artists to make money. And what else are we supposed to do? When people are born with the skill set, naturally that is that's what I'm here to do. That's what we're here to do. And artists, when they take the leap of faith, then we get told, get a job. And yet when people get a job to supplement, to actually fund their artistry so that they can do the work that they were born to do, then we get told, you should be doing your art. Thank you. Do you want to pay for it then, all? I, with my 35-year resume of accomplishment after accomplishment, I freely admit it's because of all the opportunities given from privilege, because I was born into privilege. I was born with privilege. I continue to have a very privileged life, and I continue to have a very privileged life. I'm very transparent about these things. I don't have a financially privileged life anymore, but that I have never put much stock in that because I've never ever wanted to have that kind of material power to wield it over other people. And that is what really, really motivates people to get financial power, to wield power over other people. This is why we have billionaires and the rest of us all struggling to live with the cost of living. What is that, the cost of living? What choice do we have? What choice do we have? Because you're not allowed to, kill yourself. And by the way, the cost of dying is also extremely expensive, so don't bother. It is easier to live on the street. No, actually.
Cheaper.
Cheaper, sorry. Cheaper, not easier. And it's not nice. It's not nice to have people in this world living on the streets, and more often than not, you'll find that people who are doing that have made the choice because they don't know what to do anymore. I do know that there are places for homeless people to go to, but there are so many people who are under the radar because they're not actually living the lives you think homeless people do. There are news reports galore of women living in their cars because they have nowhere else to go. This is the world we live in. The very people who bring other people into this world are forced to... What is going on in this world? We know, we see it, but it's like, what can you do? Just trudge on, trudge on. That's the attitude we have. Pockets and groups call for anarchy, and there's activism and advocacy and all sorts of things going on, but there's no unity. There's no unity. And we are all slaves of what we think we are. Well, we are mental slaves, that's for sure. Physical slaves too. I suppose I should tell you right now that we are looking for patrons and advertisers and sponsors, and good luck with that now, Zambia. Because people don't actually want truth, they just want numbers. They just want to have numbers that will further, help them extend their reach and their profits. So you know, even though we approach people who are supposedly visionaries, these visionaries then look at brown people and go, no, not you people. We want visionaries who fit our comfort zone and who will say the speak that we do. And people are too scared to actually get behind people who are transparent and have truth. Isn't that crazy? Truth is the thing that is the most valuable thing we have as human beings. And that is what gets suppressed more than anything. Also, people only like you if you fit their comfort zones. I still don't understand why then, like, what's happening in the world? I don't understand mega celebrity worship. And I say this being a mega fan of people like Beyonce and, you know, Angelina Jolie and Rekha and you know, like celebrities, entertainment celebrities. I'm a big fan of them. I don't quite get really why people become so nutsos about it all. But ooh, one thing I am finding, and I will talk about this later on today at 12 p.m. on the Sandhya Show, Australian Eastern Standard Time. And my topic today is misogyny in the sisterhood. And whoo, the misogyny that comes out, misogynoir they call it, black misogyny. Misogyny against black people, black women. When it comes to Beyonce, you just have to, you know, forget what the posters, go scroll through the comments and see how much hatred she gets simply for being a successful, doesn't give a shit about you, black American woman. Oh, she gives a shit about her black American, the other people. And for that, wow, she even has black American people turning against her. Look, I'm not very, I am against the existence of billionaires. Not against the existence of millionaires. I think everybody in this world is, well, I think there is enough money in this world for everybody to have at least $1 million US. There is enough money in this world. I'm still waiting to hear the announcement of the world's first trillionaire, because it was a Rothschild or a Rockefeller, one of them. They both come from the same sources. In all of this is hidden the reasons why the hatred started early 1900s, because we are still in World War. We're still in World War II. World War II didn't end. The Middle Ages didn't end either. So we are in a very conflicting time. And I hope we get through this. What if, just what if all the myths and all of this spiritual woo-woo and whimsical stuff that, you know, people of supposed pragmatism like to, you know, scoff at. I mean, people, on one hand, people will be religious and go to church and drink the blood and eat the body and or whatever it is that people do, and then turn around and say, Earth doesn't have feelings. The climate change doesn't exist. The Earth, you know, Earth is for us to do whatever we want with it. We own it. I'm very confused about how you can be that. Believe in a man-made construct, which had its reasons for being created. And that was to simply guide the people who, not everyone is born with the ability to guide themselves, as I said, nor lead. But this is the hierarchy and the diversity of the human species. We were given everything possible. And this is what we have done with it. Cool. I believe in the world still. I believe in people. I am pro-humanity. I believe in us. Do you? It must be time for the Daily Egg, the most important part of the show. Ta-da! Nutrients. Nutrients.
Love it.
Thank you very much for watching if you have come this far. If you're angry, if you hate me, you'd really need to actually ask that person in the mirror. Why? And look at yourself, not just your mask. Look into your eyes. Ask yourself why you are so full of hate. see you next time on the Daily Egg. Join me this afternoon, Australian Eastern Standard Time, 12 o'clock, the Sandhya Show, and I talk about misogyny in the sisterhood. We've got to start within us. Bye.
Subscribe. You
Oh,
got
yeah.
the chops.
Thank you. Subscribe. We are televisionaries, and we're inviting other visionaries to join us.